Hello, you precious humans. I'm Jamie Dawn, your evolutionary revolutionary astrologer, bringing you your celestial wisdom for the week of January 30th through February 6th of 2022. And we kick off the week with some pretty heavy, serious energy. And part of that is because we've got personal planets like Venus, Mars, Mercury, the moon, all canoodling in the sign of Capricorn with Pluto. And so, what this can feel like is that as we come off the weekend, we are starting off this week in a very serious tone. We're probably looking at our calendars, especially now that Venus is direct, and we're saying, okay, what can I attract in my life, especially when it comes to our finances, relationships, and values that allow me to be able to get things done? I'm ready to roll up my sleeves. This is Mars and Capricorn, ready to roll up my sleeves and really kick ass and take names. That's what this week is all about. And with Mercury and the moon canoodling with Pluto, there's probably some very serious discussions and decisions that are being made right now. And this is setting us up for a new moon in Aquarius the next day on the 1st of February. And the new moon is going to be, or the moon and the sun are canoodling when it's a new moon, but they're going to be sitting right next to, holding hands with Saturn. And Saturn is considered to be a malefic. I don't like using those terms as an astrologer. I feel like every planet, every sign, energy, this is the great dichotomy of being human, has the light and shadow to it. And even though Saturn has the reputation of being the disciplinarian, the heavy hitter, the one who takes things very seriously. I mean, you have to remember it was Kronos who ate his children, right? So, I mean, there is some of that to it. However, what I want to point to with Saturn here is that if we're willing to do the work, then we reap the rewards and the benefits of it. And that's what this beginning of the week is all about, is really organizing our thoughts, organizing our calendars, and organizing things in a way that allow us, because remember, Mercury is still retrograding through the sign of Capricorn, and then it will go direct this week on the 4th and make its way back into the sign of Aquarius. So for now, what we're looking at is revisiting things in our lives and maybe having conversations about the things and the people that we value most. And we take that with a very serious tone, not so that we can walk around all, down in the dumps, even though that can be the shadow side of it. When we look at, let's say, our finances and we go, oh, my bank account doesn't look the way I want it to, or I'm not getting the clients that I want, or I'm not getting the income that I deserve. And so what this can do when we look at that shadow heavier side is it can propel us into putting a plan together that actually says, I matter, I have value, here's what I'm going to work hard towards, and my efforts can be rewarded. Now, here's the only caveat to that. If we're so focused on the outcome, and that's a lot of what that Capricorn energy embodies, is we're looking at the outcome. We're results oriented. But if we get so fixated on it has to be this way, especially when it comes to our relationship dynamics, we could lose the joy of the journey. And that's what I feel this week is going to invite us into, is to really look at what journey or what path do I want to take. I used 2019 and 2020, actually it was 2020, as being the hero's journey and how I was mapping that out by the month. And I really appreciate that because it allowed me to go into paying attention to the process. When we talk about going with the flow or trusting the process, that's what this Capricorn energy invites us into. And this week, if we can really sit back and say, okay, even though I can't control an outcome, I can stay in alignment with my values. Let me revisit those for just a moment. And hopefully you spent some time with Venus retrograding in Capricorn the last 40 days of doing just that, of going, okay, what is it that I really value most in my life? And who and what do I need to align with that? And some of you may have had to let go of a particular relationship or a particular income. Maybe you're being forced to surrender here with Pluto, and you may have to surrender some things that you thought you wanted or you thought was going to work out, and it just didn't. And what I can say, though, is that when you've got all this lineup, you may also this week have some very strong conversations that cause you to negotiate, force, maybe even, force your way into a particular role or a particular energy, that a relationship that needs to be fought for. And you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again. When the relationship matters more than the subject matter, don't give up on the conversations. Those are going to be crucial for the ongoing journey. Now, with this new moon in Aquarius, it gives us a chance to reset things every month when we have a new moon. And with it being in Aquarius, we're looking at ways in which we can individuate while we're still trying to work collaboratively with each other. So we can honor the individual expressions while we still keep the bigger vision, the collective vision in perspective. And so this is where we can say, hey, I'm going to do this in my way. However, does it complement? This is a great complementary time. Does it complement what you're doing, what the bigger goal is, the vision, that sort of thing? I can honestly say that I feel many of us are going to be setting ourselves up for the month of love. Here it is, February, right? We talk about Valentine's Day and all of that. Love, not just romance, though, but what do we love? Why do we love it? Who do we love and why do we love them? And I think one of the bigger things that we can continue to work with is that when we are in alignment, not only with our values, but with those who align with those values, it doesn't mean same mind, it means like-hearted, then what we can find is we become the better versions of ourselves, and it complements them as much as they complement us. And I think that's what we're going to be working with for the entire month of February, as Venus and Mars, our cosmic lovers, are going to be canoodling. They're not going to get too far out of orb from each other. And I work with an 8-degree orb. So they're not going to get too far away from each other through the entire month of February. And this is where we can take on adventure, we can have love and competition, but the competition doesn't have to be negative. And it's not just with romance, it can also be at work. I mean, anybody like myself who plays sports or likes to compete, when I go to the gym, it's not there to sit and compare, do I look better than somebody else or can I lift heavier than somebody else? It's really, they motivate me. I celebrate every single person who is in there, no matter what they're doing in that gym. And what it does is watching somebody else work out then gives me the extra motivation to go, I can do this. Because, sometimes you just have those days where you're like, oh, I'm so tired, my body hurts, or I just don't feel the motivation. Well, here's where Venus and Mars canoodling can help give us that little extra bit of motivation. That's one of the things I'm hearing a lot, especially in the coaching sessions that I have, is people are looking for ways in which they can stay motivated because we're exhausted. That's that heavy energy of all this Capricorn time that we've had. This week should give us a taste of how we can feel more motivated. If you have been sitting on the sidelines just waiting to be put into the game, if you're waiting for maybe that declaration of love or that extra oomph of energy that allows you to say, I'm ready to take on this adventure. Many of us are going to feel more brave and more courageous than we've ever felt before when it comes to our relationships and our values and the things that we're willing to work hard for. Now, remember that when we are working with Venus and Mars here in this canoodling in the sign of Capricorn, we may take on a more mature approach to tackling some of the bigger, heavier things as subject matters in our lives. This is going to bode well when we need to kick ass, take names, but we do it in a way that says, I'm not going to let anything stop me. The one thing we do have to pay attention to, especially with Mars, is that we can lose some of our sensitivity. But I also feel that with Venus here, she helps to soften those rough edges of Mars, and Mars helps to stimulate Venus so that she can then move forward in a way that is a little bit more motivating or a little bit more, how do I want to say it? It's the fierceness of the feminine, right? And here's Mars being very masculine, but doing it in a way that can be charming. So Mars can complement Venus, bringing out that charm and that personal magnetism. And Venus can then also say, hey, look at all this work that I'm doing. Look how hard I am putting my efforts here. And so this can be a very highly creative time, and a time where if you aren't somebody who likes to toot their own horn, others can start to see you because they see you as being reliable. They see you as being very mature in the way in which you approach things. And you can also find that these hard aspects that may take shape as Venus and Mars are going to make different squares, like to the moon or to Mercury and things like that, and even making conjunctions to Pluto. These can have some harder feelings to it, but what it does is it can give us the extra oomph to be able to create from a place of the heart if we're willing to tap into it. And it also allows us to say, I'm going to be your ride or die kind of person. So your friends, your family, your beloveds, the people that depend on you are going to be able to see you as somebody who knows they'll go to battle for them and say, okay, you know what? Something terrible is happening. I'm going to lean in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to anchor. I'm going to rock this for you. I'm going to be that rock. And that's what this week will set us up for the entire month of February. If you're in a relationship dynamic that you are feeling a little unsettled or you feel a little anxious around, this is a month where, and I am talking about the whole month for the moment, but we're going to get taste of it this week, that this is the month where you can say, I'm no longer going to feel this anxiety. I'm going to take some control over at least myself, because I can't control what somebody else is going to do. I'm going to take some control over speaking my truth, declaring my values, not compromising them. I see a lot of us looking at our relationships and our finances and saying, you know what, I've compromised a little too much here. It's time for me to renegotiate that. And it's time for me to reset some boundaries and then allow myself to communicate it in a way that makes sense. I feel like a lot of us are going to be putting plans together. Some of us may have spent some time in January internally doing the planning. Now we're going to share this with others and say, okay, here's how we get things on the calendar. Here's how we get things moving in the right direction. This is what we have to look forward to. And these are the things that we need to put in place in order to accomplish the bigger picture and the longer ranges that we're looking at. Then we also have Mercury, as I mentioned, going direct on the 4th, but there's also going to be the Sun and Saturn making an exact canoodling at that day. And so this can give us a very good moment of energy where, like I say, the motivation will be there, the energy will be there, so that we can then look at this from an objective view. So if you're working with something that's pretty emotional, especially when we're dealing with relationships, if you're looking at something emotional, this gives us a beautiful opportunity to be able to take a step back, take an objective view, pull ourselves out of the emotion and say, I care so much about this. How do we work together in order to come up with an outcome that can feel good for both of us? And then what are the steps we need to put in place in order to do that? Some of you who are studying things, or you've decided to take on a certification, or you want to write something, you want to learn, this is a time now with Mercury stationing direct, even though it will stay in shadow for another 10 days, but you can start to feel as though things are moving forward, that you're having more inspiration about what you're learning about the way in which you're communicating. And I will even say, because we're in this Aquarius time, which is ruled by Uranus, and now Uranus is direct, that you may suddenly have these ahas and these bursts of inspiration that allow you to be able to lead, allow you to be able to say, you can trust me because I'm doing the work and because I have shown you my consistency. Because that's the other thing with Saturn, is it needs consistency. That's the discipline, the self-motivation, the self-discipline, self-control that it needs in order to accomplish things, in order to say, here's the test. It's not a pass or fail. It's really a marker as far as where are we at in our lives. And it gives us a good moment to just kind of pause and say, okay, this is the level that I'm at the moment. Now, what's the plan and steps I need to take to get to the next level? Because in my world, that's where evolutionary revolutionary came about, is I believe we're here to evolve. And if for some reason you feel stagnated, This is a week where I feel things will start to finally feel like they're moving forward. So have the conversations, roll up the sleeves, get the energy moving, especially with Venus, Mars, Mercury, the moon, and Pluto, all at the beginning of the week, giving us that need, that feeling of, I need to get something done, and it's up to me. I'm telling you, this is such an energy of individualism, but working with the collective, but only you can do the work. Only I can do my work. And that's what this week is all about. And if you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to do the work, this is about empowerment, not enablement. So we're willing, I'm including myself in this, if we are willing to do the work, the rewards will be there. It will take time though. So this is not about instant gratification. This is about delayed gratification and enjoying the journey, enjoy the process. Because guess what? None of us are getting out of here alive. But if we're so result oriented or we're so focused on that outcome and then we don't get what we thought we wanted or we thought the outcome should be, we're going to be in that heavier shadow side of the Saturn Capricorn energy, even though Saturn's in Aquarius. So we're going to feel the heaviness of it if we are so focused on, I have to have this and I have to have it now. Just notice what happens to our mindset, notice what happens to our energy, and then notice what happens to our behaviors. So I invite us all to take a step back and say, what journey do I want to go on? What adventure do I want to be on? And can I just enjoy, and even if enjoyment is too far of a stretch, can I just allow myself to go with the flow? All right, you guys, I really hope this helps. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and come find me at jamiedawn.com. I look forward to connecting with you. Have such a great week.